Welcome back to Ignite Your Impact podcast. My name is Matt Rhodes, and I am your host today. As you will notice, I am solo. Jen is not here today. She's busy. We had a phenomenal April, and she is onboarding constantly all the new clients that joined the Phoenix Method, getting them started up, getting them set with their coaches. So she's busy in a way, but I'm going to take you for a ride today. But you also may notice I'm going to be sniffing a little bit, maybe taking some breaks to drink some water. I've got a little bit of a head cold, but we're going to get through this today. And today I want to talk about something that can radically shift the way you show up in different areas of your life, whether it be the gym or your business or even in your personal life. And I am going to warn you, though, when I was starting to put together my bullet points for this, I got pretty excited. So we're probably going to get a little raggedy, a little gritty today. I can just kind of feel it. So where we're at today is where I came up with today's episode is as I think some of you know, Jen and I just attended two conferences. One was in Phoenix, one was in Orlando, which I don't know why I have a head cold coming back from those locations. But we went out to Phoenix. We were in Scottsdale. We spent a couple of days out there at a fitness business convention. Then flew to Orlando and went to a real estate convention. So we were surrounded by leaders and innovators and investors and just that energy and that level you get and a lot of great speakers as well. And I was going back through my notes this morning, not a deep dive, just kind of looking through my notes, getting caught up on those, what I wrote down at these conventions. And one of the speakers said something that is really the basis for what we're going to talk about today. And I can't take credit for his statement, but I'm certainly going to walk you through what this statement means to me, what it means to you, and how it can play out in your life. So fear stops at the end of mile one. Fear stops at mile one. Rewards start at mile two. That's what he said. Fear stops at mile one. Rewards start at mile two. Everyone says that they want it. The body, the business, the breakthrough. But let me tell you the hard truth. Fear stops at mile one, and most people quit there. But the reward, that doesn't even begin until you hit mile two. Think about that. That first mile, everyone is starting. It's where all the energy is. It's that high feeling. The commitment feels easy, and the fear's still there, but it's kind of lurking in the background, and it's still manageable. It's whenever you're starting something. But it's just as things start to get uncomfortable, right when that voice in your head starts to say, this is hard. Maybe I'm not cut out for this. I've tried this before and failed. That's where most people stop. And that's exactly where the rewards begin. Now, the second mile is not for everyone. It's not crowded and it's not comfortable, but it's where transformation happens. It's in that second mile. So that may seem a little counterintuitive to what Jen and I talk about a lot, meaning a lot of the things we talk about and consistently do is about changing your why or changing your identity, finding your why, doing the things that you need to do to make the process easy. And that is 100% true. When we get those two things figured out, we get your identity right, and we get your why right, you're going to go from soft to shredded or broke to wealthy or whatever it is that your goal is when you get those right. However, there's going to be a time, and I'm sure there's been a time in your life already, that you have a goal that you're going after and you want to quit. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So if you're struggling to get beach ready or you're struggling in a business or a relationship, I want you to know the reward is coming, and we're going to talk through that today. So the first mile, this is where the fear lives. Like I said earlier, starting is sexy. You feel pumped. You feel motivated. You buy the new shoes. You're signing deals. You're making vision boards. You're doing all the things. But then it hits the fatigue, the silence, the doubt. And right when it starts to get uncomfortable, that's when people back off. They call it burnout. I've heard bad timing. It's just mile one talking to you. And it does its best work talking to you at the end of mile one. That's when the shit gets in your head, when you're getting close. The trick is you recognize that fear isn't a red light. It's more of a checkpoint. If you're feeling that fear and you're sensing that red light, that means you're on the edge of growth. You're right there. Anytime you start something, mile one is always the same. That's why you're probably nodding and you're thinking back to something and saying, yep, I felt excited. It felt sexy. All these things were going on, and then the fear and doubt happened. Mile one is always the same when you start something new. The timeline isn't. The timeline changes, but the feeling is always the same. When I committed to transform my body 5 years ago, I probably spent 1 to maybe 2 months in mile one. That's the excitement all the way through the doubt. Then I started noticing some changes. My clothes started fitting a little bit different. I started to have a little more confidence. I was transitioning into mile two. I was in mile one when I started my real estate company for 10 straight months. 10 months, 10 freaking months. And it all started to come together. I was transitioning to that second mile. Now, I'm not trying to scare you with mile one. I'm just telling you facts. And you know these are facts because you've experienced it and I've experienced it. There's areas in your life where you went through mile one and you stopped. There's areas in your life where you went through mile one and you got to mile two and you started seeing the transformation. Now, before I dig into how you push through this, I want to provide a quick little nugget. When you figure out your why and you don't let anything break into that or through that, you will shrink mile one, the timeline. It will shrink and you'll get to mile two quicker. So the second mile, though, this is where all the growth begins. Mile two is very different. It's quiet. No one's watching. You don't get applause for what you're doing. That all came back at the beginning of mile one when you posted on social media. You were starting a company. You were going on a weight loss journey. You were in a new relationship. Whatever it was, that's when you got the applause. Mile two, that's not there. But mile two, that is where the real ones are. In mile two, you build confidence by keeping promises that no one else can hear but you. In mile two, you start stacking habits that compound into breakthroughs. In mile two, you don't find rewards, you start earning them and feeling good for them. The second mile is where you start showing up differently. Just like my examples, I started showing up with more confidence in my body, in my company. I started showing up different to calls. I started attracting investors. You start showing up differently. Maybe it's earlier mornings. Maybe you're starting to have the tough conversations that you need to have. It's staying committed when no one else is clapping. And the beautiful part, that second mile compounds. It's freaking compound interest. We all understand compound interest. All of a sudden things start to speed up. You don't need to sprint into it though. You just need to choose it over and over and over. Because that's where the confidence builds. That's where the results start showing up in mile two. So transitioning, how do we train for the second mile? I've already established, and you have been through it before, mile one has its ups and downs. How do you train to get to that mile two? You don't need to be motivated and you don't need to be conditioned. There's just some quick hitters. Push past your comfort zone. What that means is push one rep past comfort. When I say rep, you're probably thinking about the gym. That can be it. Maybe it's one more call, one more email, one more text, one more post on social media, whatever it is. Push one rep past comfort. Show up one day past tired. Speak up one more time past fear. do that enough and the fear doesn't run you anymore, it starts to respect you. So beyond those little quick hitters, I want to give you actionable items that you can do that 100% work. I know they do because they work for me. They work for our clients. And you're going to start saying, this sounds familiar because you've been to mile 2 in some areas of your life and you can start to piece this together. I'm just organizing what you went through. That's all I'm doing. You already have all the information. I'm just organizing it for you. There's 4 ones. The first one is micro wins. Celebrate showing up, not just the outcomes. What I mean by this, if you're so focused on celebrating the outcomes, you'll never get past mile 1. Because in mile 1, there's not a lot of outcomes. Those start coming in mile 2. Those are when the rewards start going. That's when you start showing up differently. You start seeing transformation. You don't see that in mile 1. So you've got to celebrate showing up for yourself every damn day to help you get through mile 1 into mile 2. Micro wins. Number 2, ritualize resilience. What this really means is make consistency your new friend, your new thing. Morning affirmations, cold showers, 5 a.m. training, whatever builds habit. I cannot emphasize how important this one is. It's all about habits. Now, I get it. A lot of people listening to us right now have got little kids at home. They're like, man, I can't dedicate an hour in the morning to Victory Hour. Don't. Do something else. Everyone's different. But you have to get into a consistent plan. Rituals that you're doing to keep you on track. I know this works because this is what you've heard Jen talk about on this podcast a couple of times, a machine. She calls me a machine. When I get into machine mode, that means I am ritualizing resilience. I'm getting into a consistency of events every single day, and that's where I get shit done. That's number 2. Number 3 is visualize the reward. Know why mile 2 means something to you. Out of the 4, this one's the most important. That's why I dropped that nugget earlier about visualizing and changing your identity. But visualize the reward. This one piece can shrink that 1 mile down, that timeline down. Now, too often people confuse the reward. This is a big one. You confuse the reward. You think this is the reward you're looking for, but it's not really, and it's not going to get you over to mile 2. Let me give you some examples. If we're talking fitness, the reward is not to have abs. You picture yourself with abs, but the real reward is that fucking feeling. You know what I'm talking about. It's when you close your eyes, just like I'm doing right now, and you start thinking about that feeling, whether it's at the beach, the pool, the bed, wherever it is, and you start nodding your head. It's that feeling. That's what gets you to mile 2. The reward isn't a number in the bank account. It's that feeling when you're free. So make sure when I tell you to visualize the reward, you got the right reward. The one that makes you move, makes the hair on your arm stand up. The 4th one, track effort, not just success. Focus on the input and the output will come. It always does. Every single time. I could end the podcast right now with just focus on input and the output will come and you'd be successful. Now, this one is different than number 1. Number 1 was all about celebrating the effort. This is tracking the effort so that you know what you need to change to actually get the shit done. What's working, what's not working. Visualizing my reward was what helped me break through, using all 4 of these, but visualizing my reward, because that's the most important one, is what helped me break through from mile 1 to mile 2. But tracking my effort is what helped me see what I was not focusing on. So let me give you an example. Here's what I mean. I told you for when I started my real estate company that I was in mile 1 for an extended period of time. For me, it was 10 months. The reason I was in there so long is I had my reward. I had my micro wins. I was doing my ritual. I was doing all those things, but I wasn't tracking my success. I wasn't tracking my effort, I mean. And what I mean by that is I had another coach tell me to pull out my calendar. And I pulled out my calendar and it showed my priorities. That's why you have to use all 4 of these. You can't use 3. You got to use all 4. I wasn't prioritizing what I actually wanted. I was doing other dumb shit. And it showed up in my calendar. These 4 items are what I would call second mile conditioning. This is what you need to condition to get into that second mile where transformation begins. So here's your mile 2 moment. What's one thing you've quit at mile 1? What's one thing that is waiting on the other side of effort? Whatever came to mind, do 1 more mile this week. Show up, go further. Because average lives in the first mile. And excellence, that is a second mile decision. Because the second mile, that's where champions are built. Now, thanks for tuning in today. If this episode hit with you, or you know someone who needs a little bit of a push, I think we all know someone who needs a little bit of push in their life, send this to them. And remember, fear may live in mile 1, but your breakthrough, that's waiting in mile 2. And I'll see you in mile 2.